Brain Candy.
Episode 865. Hello.
Not so feeling alive.
Oh, you feeling dead?
Yeah, dead. You know, you have those days you're just like, I'm not on my game.
Oh, no.
You know?
I'm shocked.
Sometimes I'm like, well, who knows? Will this be good? Will this be terrible? I don't
That's
know.
what you feel going into it?
Yeah, you know.
Oh my gosh,
like
you're
that
the
sometimes.
optimistic one. This is not
I know.
good.
What are we going to do here?
We're going to rally.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, we're back from New York. I feel like we got to do a little bit of a wrap up with some of the stuff that we did over there. But one of the things that we did while we were there that I really want to dive into and talk about is the freaking Real World house.
Yeah, that was awesome. We had we had intentions of visiting and like getting photos, but I did not have high hopes.
I did not have high hopes, but also I did that thing. You are coming in with a blank slate. Like, you don't have any idea of what it used to be like, what the house looked like. Your only experience of it is whatever I told you or whatever you saw on TV. It's one of those things where my memory of it is so like a photograph. Like, I can remember, I could draw you a picture of where the cab dropped us off. And also, there's video of it. So I have my memory and also the photo, like the videos that show me everything that, you know, I'm remembering as well. And so I go in there thinking that it's going with this like image in my mind of exactly what it's going to be like. Like, I'm going to walk up and I'm going to see that same chain link fence where I still have the key. That it would be the same key with the same door that would lead to the same big open patio with the beautiful view of the Statue of Liberty with the same great mural on the ground. And it wasn't like that at all. It was, oh my God, it makes me emotional. I have no idea why. It's the weirdest thing that I got so emotional talking about it. And I don't know if it's that, man, that part of my life is just done over, or that it's just different than what you think it was, or that there was so much insanity and like chaos and drama that happened in that house that it's just like intense to go back.
Mm-hmm.
But holy fuck, like, it was so weird. And everything has changed. Everything is different. There's like big, huge buildings that have been added on to the original warehouse where it was, and it's been like extended and blocked off. You can't even walk down those same paths. And because of, it's like the actual direction of the road has like, they've added a new driveway that has then changed like the angle of where you'd pull up to it, and all of that just like messed with my mind in a way.
Like disorienting.
Yeah. And it was like, everything is different now, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And that, I think, like, hit me really. I remember being that 21-year-old girl who was like so optimistic and so excited about sharing my story with everybody and meeting new people and having such a great experience. And the reality is, like, so much amazing stuff came from it, but also a lot of pain.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of like things that like make me wonder, how would things be different if I never went on that show?
It's one of the things about the Real World and Road Rules that I find most interesting is that when you're chosen for all these things that make you unique and make your story worth telling. But then once you participated, that story is altered forever. Yeah. And that is so weird because it's this, you know, sliding doors or quantum leap thing where it's like, now that person that was coming along is going to be a different person because of the thing that they're documenting. It's weird.
Yeah. And it just changed a lot. And it just feels like I didn't realize how vulnerable I was at that time, you know? And I think me now would have stood up to a lot of the things that happened to me while I was on that show and the ways that like my story was told. And it was hard to be I was the very first person on a reality television, like a regular person, that ever spoke about being a survivor of sexual assault, sexual abuse. That just changed my life in a way that is like wonderful, but came like with a lot of heaviness.
Right.
You know? And like, I think about me at that time who was like, yeah, I got this. I'm going to help other people and I'm so healed and I'm okay. And I was not, you know, you don't realize like how much things affected you until maybe you have that ability to kind of reflect and look back and have some hindsight, you know? And it was just like everything just came back to me in that moment in the weirdest way. Like I was like not crying about things before. And then as soon as we start talking about this, it's like, it's uncontrollable. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. When we were going there in the car, it was very much like a body keeps a score thing. Like you started getting real tense and anxious and you were like, I don't know why I'm feeling like this. It just sort of was happening to you.
It's so, I can't describe it. I wonder if that happens to other people who have been on the show.
Good question.
Because
probably
it really did feel like, yeah, it is like a body keeps the score thing. Like it felt like going back to, I mean, I know I wasn't traumatized on there, but I don't know. It did.
I think weird. That's why the Real World Homecoming seasons are so profound.
Oh my God.
Because I think it does bring back all that stuff and forces people to reflect and consider all the ways their lives have changed since then. And it's pretty powerful.
Oh, yeah. I don't know why it makes me so emotional. It just like, it's definitely, like I said, a body keeps a score thing, but I think it was a good chance for me to be kind to that little Sarah, that other Sarah. And we met some wonderful people who were really cool. And
I was really lucky. We had some good luck with the people that happened to be lingering about, and they were kind enough to show us around and show us some new elements. And we were able to see some of the actual living spaces that you occupied, which was totally wild to me. And I've never been in a real world house until then. So that was fun. And it felt like good vibes in terms of like the new people that are there and what they want to do with the space.
And they had all the different, like, they have all these offices there now. And I was like, yeah, ours was 207, whatever. And the guy's like, that's my apartment. And of course, 207 was much bigger. Like it was his and then like 3 other ones too, because it's like a huge set space.
They broke it up
but the place, they broke it all off. But the place that like where like his living room was like my bedroom.
It's so weird.
And it was so weird to like look out the same window and be like, yeah, that's what we saw. That was
your view.
That was a view. And like sometimes you just meet those people who are like, okay, I'm going to like emotionally escort you through this walk down memory lane. And that's what it was like. It was really cool.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah.
We road rulers do not have this.
I know. Not fair.
But maybe better.
I know. I'm like, yeah, maybe better because like you guys, I don't know. I would not trade. Well, actually, maybe I would like road rules. It's like camping van life kind of thing. The only thing that I feel like would be really hard that I can't get over is how you guys had to like win your money.
Yeah, that sucked.
that sucks. That feels like you're good.
And we ran
You're
out.
hustling. That,
Yeah.
I mean.
And that's what you bought food with. I mean, it's not like, you know what I mean?
Right.
But,
I could, the hustler in me, I go into this panic mode when I feel like, finances are tough. And even if that was like simulated on a game show or on a reality show, that would turn me into a crazy person. I'd be like, no, guys, we got to go make money. Like, we have to.
Yeah,
I'd be so scared for our livelihood. So
whatever it
that is
took.
always wild to me, that part. Yeah, we got it. It is crazy to me, however, that we were only paid $300 a week to live in New York City. And that included transportation, groceries, everything like that. And after being in New York City for 3 days, that goes fast.
Sure does.
That's like 2 cab rides and a couple subways. Like, what?
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Well, it sounds like after Sarah visited her real world house, maybe she will book a session with Sherry to talk about it all with BetterHelp. And this podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp, by the way.
Yes.
Sherry to the rescue.
There's so much to talk with a therapist about in these times.
That's for sure. Whether you're in the real world or not.
Right.
I think everyone's crying a little bit more lately. And BetterHelp can help you, whether you are grieving or in a relationship that needs some help, or you just stressed and need some guidance. They have people that specialize in whatever your needs are. And I think this could be good for a lot of you. Let the gratitude flow with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/braincandy today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/braincandy.
Yes. Yeah. I was thinking this, like, I got to come up with a way to offer some sort of, like, I don't know, maybe like a post-election, like, group therapy thing at a discounted rate or something like that. Like, we talk about, and Susie, you're going to be a guest on my podcast, This Changes Everything, in a little bit.
Yeah.
And, we talk about being useful and doing something and trying to take action and use the tools that you have. And, if you're a writer, write something. If you're a painter, paint something. And, so I'm like, I'm trying to think of like ways that I can help with the tools that I have.
Yeah.
So like group therapy, I feel like
that would be a real public service.
Right. And people will need that, Yeah. So free of cost or something like that.
Yeah.
Or donations to like a nonprofit or charitable organization. Now I'm just talking about my stuff now, but yeah, it did. I remember so much of that, like the real world house and the moments where I knew I wanted to be a therapist, like sitting down and like having Caitlin tell me that she's post-operative trans person. And I was like, all right, tell me what that experience is like for you. And it was like, so amazing to meet people who, and then hear about Ryan, who was a veteran, like hear his story. And I told him that I wanted him, like he should write a book. Well, he was already going to write a book about it. He's telling me like he's going to write a book about it. I'm like, that's so amazing. That's so wonderful. I want your first copy. And he sent me like the first one, like signed by him, and I read it. It was so amazing, and I thought they're really cool people who are in that house. Yeah, and have gone. I just wish we were more connected. Then, that's probably what makes me sad too. It's kind of a bummer.
Yeah. Well, the good news is you can be.
Yeah.
And that's an easy fix.
I wonder if people would like Sarah now that didn't like me in the real world house. Like,
well, there's one way to find out.
Yeah, I guess. It's weird because some of the people, like, when I was there when Obama was elected, and that was like a huge thing, and like being there for election again was like,
because we did go on election day, which was like
it was already emotional.
Yeah.
We're like, oh my god, yeah,
there's a lot going on.
There was a lot going on, and there was just like a feeling in, and I think I don't know, because everything sounds familiar and feels familiar and all the names and stuff, but I'm pretty sure we did some event at Union Hall too. And that's where we watched the election stuff. So
it all came together.
it really did. It was so interesting. Anyways, okay. I do have some other stories to tell you today. Some other interesting things. This is kind of linked to something that we were talking about last week when you were talking about the itching sensation.
Yeah.
And I feel like itching and tickling are sort of cousins.
Yeah,
if you will, you know?
Totally, yeah.
Because there's this interesting thing that happens to some mammals, and they call it the wet dog shake. So researchers were asking questions like, why does this happen, and why do we notice it in some animals and not others? That to me is the one that blows my mind. Is like, because at first you think, oh, I know why animals shake like that. They have fur. They're trying to get the water off. They're trying to get dry, right? And it is effective. Dogs shake around 70% of water off in seconds, which is like effective.
70%.
Yeah, right?
Dang.
Don't you? Oh, you don't have a dog.
I wish I
but
could do that.
You would notice that 70% is then on you and your floor as soon as they do that. But
it'd be
it's
so
like,
nice if that worked for us. Like after you get out of the shower, like if you could get 70% off before you even towel off, that's great.
I would probably wash my towels less frequently.
Yeah, right.
Right.
And my hair wouldn't be so damaged from like dry heat.
Yes. So we can't do that, but mice can. That's another animal that can. And cats can't. So this is something that is designed because it comes down to this special skin receptor that these animals have. There's this thing called CLTMRs, low threshold mechanoreceptors. And they're these sensitive touch receptors on the skin that detect light touch and hair follicles. And they send neurons, they like send a signal to neurons that reach up to the brain and say, hey, time to shake. And so they did this research with mice, and they put little oil droplets on the mice. Oh my God. Mice is back. And then they used light to control these specific neurons, and they were able to trigger the shake often without anything on the back. So they were able to get them to feel that. And when science disabled the receptors, they stopped shaking. And they proved that these receptors are what's super needed for this like shake. But they say it's like a survival mechanism, but we don't really know why. We just know that it all comes down to this receptor. And they say it's kind of like tickling triggers in us. But then the argument was, well, some animals maybe develop that because of how they respond to humans, or it's something about like they need it. The reason why is still a question mark. So now we know that it does this thing. We know that it's these like same receptors, like sort of kind of like tickling receptors. But why mice and dogs and not cats?
These animals have these receptors.
Yes.
That when activated,
yes,
typically by wetness,
anything.
Okay,
wetness, a tickle, any sort of. It's like a tickling sensation, like any sort of light touch on the fur.
Well,
in any area.
What's the mystery about it? Like, if we assume it is for the water part, is it not?
Why don't cats do it? Why don't every other mammal with fur?
So it's more a question of why they don't.
Yeah,
those don't have it.
We just know that shaking off the water happens to be one of the things that it does. Yes, it removes irritants, but other animals get wet and don't have this response. Why is it that certain animals do? Yeah, what determines it? And what could this mean? And it's one of those things where when we can understand the specific receptors for these tickling sensations, and this is why it made me interested, is that it could maybe give some insight into itching sensations or something like
Right.
that. Like, what if there's, how do we not know that that's not connected? That
Well, you're kind of describing that thing that happens to us, like maybe if we're tickled like a feather or something, or just when we get freaked out, when we get the heebie-jeebies, and you go like, ugh,
ooh, yeah,
and your like whole body does
shakes
that
up and
thing.
off.
Yeah, or isn't that similar?
Yeah, well, they say
Yeah.
it, and it might be like, I mean, tickling is more psychological sometimes too, but there's like a physical component to it as well, and we can identify these receptors. I'm just curious to know how these receptors that they think might be tickling triggers and that trigger like this automatic reaction in us could have something to do with the itching thing.
Mm-hmm.
And animals that have it and don't.
Yeah, and there's so much we don't know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But why don't
I'll
cats
tell you what I
shake
do
off?
know, though, Sarah.
Yeah.
I know that my cats do love Small's cat food.
I've seen this.
They hate water, but they hate getting water on them for sure. Not even a drop. They're like, if your hand is even a teeny bit wet, they are like, get.
That is so
But they
funny.
love Smalls. It is the best part of their life, I think. Sarah was here and she witnessed
Yes,
the
I did.
cries, cries that happen at very specific times.
The cries and the licking the plate clean.
Yeah. And then they do that like hiding thing where like you're not actually hiding it, cats, but they think they are burying it so nobody else can get it. But
that's funny.
what's great about Smalls is this is human grade food. And so it's clearly very tasty, but it doesn't smell like typical wet cat food, which is why I never bought wet cat food because it's disgusting. But this is totally different. It is scent free and odor free, and they friggin' love it. And they also are a great company because they donate money to help cats through the Humane Society, which I love. And that 88% of cat owners reported health improvements after giving them Smalls. My gosh, that's awesome. And you can try it risk-free, right? If you don't like it, if your cats aren't into it, you get your money back. So why not give it a try? Give your cat the gift of great cat food this holiday season. Head to smalls.com/braincandy. Use promo code braincandy at checkout for 50% off your first order plus free shipping. That's the best offer you'll find, but you have to use our code braincandy for 50% off your first order. One last time, that's promo code braincandy for 50% off your first order plus free shipping.
Now that you mentioned that about your cats, I wonder if animals that don't like getting wet have those receptors or not.
Right. I wonder.
Because mice can swim, right?
Mice can definitely swim.
Right.
But cats, you know how like they bathe themselves with their tongues?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's no like, we're not putting the cat in the tub or anything. Right? They handle it. They're self-cleaning.
Yeah. I wonder. Yeah. They didn't mention anything about disliking water and that being, but they just said that it's important to look at this because it shows us how animals' nervous systems have evolved to protect them, which gives us information about us.
There you go.
Yeah.
I love it.
Let's see. What else? This is another little animal story, animal update. 43 rhesus macaw monkeys have escaped from Alpha Genesis, a research facility in Yamasee, South Carolina.
Can you believe that? They're still on the lam, I saw.
Right. The cage opened, there were 50 of them. 43 of them, I think, were like, we're out of here. Take off.
The other ones just sat there?
7 of them just chilled.
Well, I mean, it's like people.
You're
Some are
right.
smarter than others.
I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, this is what happens when the fire alarm goes off, except usually it's 43 people who sit around and 7 of them are like, I'm out of here.
Totally.
You know, it's like trained like submission.
Or maybe those are like the really old ones who like
I'm done with this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get 3 square meters a day here. Why am I going out?
What, have
I
you
don't
seen
need
the
an
other place? It's a
adventure.
jungle out there.
Right. Literally. Right. So are you rooting for them? Are you glad they escaped?
Yeah, I'm glad. I always am like rooting for.
I never am.
It's like Chicken Run or like one of those. You know that little like movie with,
it's
from
an
the Wallace and
underdog
Gromit
story.
people? I like that. But I also am skeptical of any company called Alpha Genesis that like sounds like you just created Terminator or some. You're definitely on a mission to destroy the planet. I don't know. And when they're like, don't worry, these monkeys aren't infected with any diseases. I'm like, that wasn't something I was thinking until you guys mentioned it.
That is such a good point. As soon as they're like, what? They don't have diseases.
I was like, wait, should I be concerned about other ones that have escaped that do? Because guess what, guys? This ain't your first rodeo or like your first crime or whatever. They did this. They have previous incidents in the past. From 2014 to 2016, they had several incidences. That's all it said, several, and were hit with fines of $12,000.
You're saying this particular lab?
Yes.
I think we should shut them down.
I think so too.
I think the time has come.
Yes.
When you like lose 50 monkeys, I think maybe it's time to shut the doors.
It is very funny that the police and Alpha Genesis are using thermal imaging and food baited traps. 0 monkeys captured.
Wow.
So they weren't infected with diseases, but they were infected with invisibility cloaks. And I'm sort of into that.
Yeah, wow. They're clever.
Yeah.
I would love to know what went wrong. Like, who did this?
Because this isn't...
Was this like a hapless security guard that like fell asleep at the wheel and then like fell asleep on the button that like opens the cage or something?
Because we've seen Chimp Crazy. And if those gals can manage to keep their monkeys locked up,
yeah.
I feel like the research
Not Alpha
labs...
Omega or whatever you call it. What's it called?
Alpha Genesis, but that is potato. Right? Yeah. So the safety note was escaped monkeys are young, disease-free females.
Oh, wow. All ladies, huh?
Yes.
They are out of here.
Which makes you think that they were probably doing research on reproductive.
That's like the only time they use us is like just for like an occasional ovary.
Oh God. Oh, that's so funny. Okay. Yeah. I saw that and I was like, this is brain candy material.
Well, good luck, monkeys.
Yeah. Good luck. Godspeed. Okay. This is a lovely story. This is a story from the BBC about a young man named Christian Wilson. He's 22 and he is a student with verbal dyspraxia, and which it affects your vocal cords. So it's a disease that causes.
It's a muscle thing.
Yeah, with the muscles. So did you see the story?
No, I just like they think Lincoln has dyspraxia, which is common in people with like dyslexia and stuff.
Oh, really?
But not vocal cords. His is just full body. He's real clumsy, Sarah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's like not coordinated, and it's actually like a thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that it is not that he still has vocal cords and can use those.
Boy, does he. That's like the only muscles that work properly. That's so funny.
Oh, that is so funny. Well, this young man struggles with his voice and through technology has been given those computer boards and like the sound boards, but was really frustrated with the voice that came out of those. And this is something
stupid.
It's definitely stupid. And they're usually like a standard voice. And sometimes you get to pick if they have an English accent, an Australian accent, something like that.
Is this like the Stephen Hawking one?
No, I mean they've improved on it since then. It just was a standard British accent, I think.
Okay.
And
Christian was like, "Fuck this."
He felt disconnected because he comes from Warwickshire, however you pronounce that, and which is a very specific accent. And his father passed away not too long ago, and one of the things that he missed was his father's voice. And he really loved that accent. And he feels like in order to feel connected to his father who's passed away, it was important for him to have that accent. And it was something that was part of his identity because he saw everybody else in his family have that. Now he's like, I really want to sound like my dad. So they took this. I'm not sure the company. Oh, engineers at Speak Unique. The company is called Speak Unique. They took
What if it was like Alpha Genesis?
Oh my God. Well, that's what I was like, let me make sure it's not. No, I'm just kidding. It's not.
Right.
It's a company called Speak Unique, and they took 2 recordings from donors' voices where they worked to create this accent that sounded just like his late father. And the reaction from this young man when he gets to speak in that voice is one of the coolest things to see. And he just is moved to tears, and he talks about how he's just so grateful for the new possibilities and little things. He said, like ordering food at a restaurant were really important to him. And
I mean, I got to admit, I would never have thought it would matter, you know?
It's one of those things that it's kind of like the, what are they called? The not branding, but the logos on the prosthetics that we're talking about.
Yeah.
That this is why hearing stories from people who are dealing with all sorts of different disabilities are so important, because they're things that we would never think about, and things that we kind of take for granted, how we sound like our family and what that would do, and how you may feel disconnected if you didn't sound like them.
Yeah, right. I think able-bodied or whatever people just tend to think that people that get these sort of advancements would just be like, hey, this is great because now I can communicate. It's almost like we're like, well, now you go. There you go. It's good enough.
Yeah.
But they appreciate the finer details.
Yeah.
And the personalization and identity stuff.
It's really cool. And there's a lot to think about that comes along with this, because your voice is attached to your identity and is very unique. And that's why the sound engineers blended 2 different voices to make something that was custom and unique. Because think about even we're entering an age where you can very easily duplicate audio, and they needed to make a voice that was specifically his. And
a unique tone.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I'm thinking, does your bank do that thing where when you call it says my voice is my password?
Oh, Lord, no.
Please. Oh, that's mine does that. That now when I call my bank, you use your voice as your password. I'm like, I hope nobody damn, you should delete that so nobody takes my voice out of there.
Right.
Just add some beeps over it. Shit.
Oh my God.
I know. What if somebody takes that audio and then gets into my bank account?
The victim of identity theft.
That I just set them up for.
Bizarre. I'll tell you what's not bizarre, and that is how freaking great Thrive Cosmetics is, and how it is the makeup brand for me. Ugh. I love them so much. I have a relationship with Thrive Cosmetics, a deep, meaningful.
Well, you know what? That's not as silly as it sounds, because makeup is a very personal thing, and we can feel very vulnerable without it. And I think it's attached to a lot about how we feel and confidence and stuff like that. And having a makeup brand that is reliable and consistent and always looks great on, but then also does good and gives back. So I feel like I'm putting my money, where my mouth is, kind of thing, and spending my dollars in the right place.
One thing that for the winter you folks will maybe want to get is that sheer strength hydrating lip tint, because I'm already feeling that dry lip thing and I hate it. And they have all these 8 shades of fall, darker winter colors. So nice. And they really do keep your lips more moisturized. But of course, the mascara is a no-brainer. You have to get that. But all their products are phenomenal. I haven't had one that has disappointed me. High performance formulas, and they give back to the community. Spice up your fall look with Thrive Cosmetics, luxury beauty that gives back. Right now, you can get an exclusive 20% off your first order at thrivecosmetics.com/braincandy. That's Thrive Cosmetics, CAUSEMETICS.com/braincandy for 20% off your first order. Would be a great stocking stuffer too, all that stuff.
Yeah. I just saw that they sent me a little coupon in the mail for a free mini mascara with my next purchase.
Oh my God.
It's like, duh, getting that.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. Anyways, if you could have any accent, what would it be? Like if you could pick your own voice. And also, do you like your voice?
No. No.
Why?
No. It's tinny and gross and weird.
Excuse
and
me? What do you mean tinny?
Tinny, like a little hollow, not rich enough.
Oh.
That's okay, though. I mean, what can you do?
What kind of accent would you want?
I mean, British people get a lot of fuss, don't I know it? Everywhere we go. It's like,
oh, I like fuss like that. Like they just love it.
Yeah, like Adam is really
hot commodity.
Making the most of that here in America.
What
about you? What would you do?
I love an Italian accent.
Ooh.
There's a woman I follow on Instagram whose parents are Italian, but she lives in the United States. Maybe she goes back there a lot, something like that. But she kind of does like the Italian version of Spanglish. I don't know how you'd say that, of like combining Italian and English. Mm-hmm. And it is so fun to listen to. And she just has such great words. And the Italians are so, like, they talk with their whole body. And so I would like to do that.
Have a least favorite accent?
Oh,
I do.
That is a good question. Freaking A. Yeah, actually.
But you don't want to say it.
Let's say it on 3. Is yours international or specific to... Oh, okay,
international.
No.
Oh, yours is American?
Yep.
Of all of them in the whole world?
I think yes.
Okay, tell me yours.
Oh, maybe. In the whole world.
Ooh. You know, like when people speak English from around the world, but so they're, they have an accent. Oh,
when they speak English from around the world.
Yes, because you said accent, not language. Yes. Okay.
Right, but like...
Those are different.
Yeah, you're right. They are. And it is like this, how they speak. So it does kind of change. That is true.
If I was picking a language, I would say French. But if I was picking an accent,
right.
I would say
it'd be like the accent.
British.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Then if I'm going accent speaking English that I don't like.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't get over the Boston accent. People are going to hate me for this, but that is the one that it's
I'm
just
saying
like
international.
I know. So I'm trying to like think of what do I like worse than that one, or what do I dislike worse than that. I mean, sometimes the German accent can sound like they're yelling at me.
Definitely,
and I feel like aggressive. I'm sorry. What did I do?
Yeah.
What do you
think?
My
at least is Indian. It's.
I love it.
You like it? It is colorful and like musical.
Yeah.
But it just grates on me.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Like,
who knows why?
Mm-hmm. I'm still...
British people love Southern American accents. At least Adam and his friends and stuff.
Who doesn't?
They think it's so cute and funny. And it is. Yeah.
Like Leanne Morgan, like South Carolina, or like a woman who clutches her pearls in any way.
Yeah,
is going to be
Georgia,
like that. Is
real cute.
Yes, I do declare. Like I love that. That is, yeah. Or like anybody who calls me honey like that.
Do you like your husky voice though? You used to say you didn't.
I worry because one time I was at a Chinese herbalist, like acupuncturist, and they asked me if my voice has always been scratchy like this.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think so. And then they were like, kind of, yeah. The message I got was, ugh. You should look out for that or something.
Like you have the dark arts or something.
Or maybe like I just feel like I'm phlegmy. I don't know. I wasn't gonna fucking go there, Suze, but I guess.
Right, like Ursula, because Ursula has it. It's like a witchy woman. Really.
Like, I could go deeper if I wanted to, but I don't. Bet. I bring it higher for the podcast. So.
She keeps it in the high register.
Yeah. Yeah. But then when I listen to it on the podcast, I don't mind it.
I don't either. I like it. Yeah.
I wish you were like yours. I think most of us feel like that when we listen to our voice on voicemail. I cringe when I hear that, but I think it's just me performing voicemail that I don't like. Like, oh God.
Right.
That's awful. Miserable. Anyways. Okay, what else do we have to talk about? Oh, this is a story I've had for forever on my list to talk about, and don't know why, but I never did. It always is like the last thing on the page, and now we're going to talk about it. Have you heard about the connection between chocolate and how it exposed racism in film?
No.
Okay, this is interesting. Mm-hmm. So early photography and film, like everything else and before, favored light skin. And we could all insert eye roll here. It's
right,
really
like the lighting and
everything. And I've even seen too, like hand sensors at soap dispensers not going off for certain
people.
Yeah, dark skin, and like some people it doesn't go off for. So yes, it's something like companies often don't think about. And film didn't either. And when film was first developed, it was calibrated to capture lighter skin tones. And we see this. It results in really poor representation of darker skin tones. And they developed something called Kodak, was like the first film company that they used in motion pictures. And they developed these things called Shirley cards. Mm-hmm. Like you can see the history of racism just anywhere you look. Mm-hmm. And these Shirley cards featured this white woman named Shirley, and it was used to standardize color balance and exposure. And this obviously left very little room for accurate representation of Black or darker skinned individuals. And because of this, obviously because of racist issues, but because sometimes people are like, oh, we don't want to mess with, have to deal with the lighting, then that was a reason also to not cast darker skinned people. They got lost in the shadows. It was a whole mess. Then in the 1970s, companies began producing dark chocolate. Additionally, darker wood products and that then became available, for film companies. And they wanted woods, art directors and stuff wanted woods that looked like rich tones, and they wanted all these to be accurately portrayed in the film. So because of that reason, there was a push for better film quality, and it was dark chocolate.
Right.
That led to Kodak expanding these, like their range of how their light, what their cameras read, how the light was read via the camera.
Right. So just the range for chocolate and woods, but not people.
Correct.
Right.
Is that not a shocking story, but not a shocking story? I mean, now we have digital technology that it allows for this wide range of skin tones. And I can always tell, anytime I watch a movie, I can always tell if the lighting person is a person of color. I'm like, oh, that's a Black person who just lit this, and they lit it beautifully, because the lighting on darker colored skin is gorgeous when somebody actually knows how to light for dark colored skin. Right. And it is just so ridiculous that it was chocolate that made, and the chocolate companies being like, we don't like how our chocolate's being portrayed, that made Kodak go, okay, sure, we'll look at our cameras differently, instead of people
Mm-hmm.
who they could have said, these people are getting lost in the shadows. These people are not able to be on film. These people do not get to be portrayed in television before the 1970s in a way that looked in any way like good on camera.
Right. Yeah. They didn't just say, like, let's just use white chocolate.
Right. That is totally the chocolate version of,
Right.
Yeah.
Because that's what they were like, let's just use white actors.
Right.
Well, I'll tell you one thing that everyone would love, regardless of whether they like chocolate or what color their skin is, and that is healthy hair. And Nutrafol is the ticket. I'm so happy with this supplement. It's a hair growth supplement that I've been using for a long time since my incident. And I now am seeing thicker, stronger, faster growing hair. And even like when we did our live and I had my hair down and Mo was like, your hair. Because I mean, it is a big difference from whenever it was in distress. But if you want less shedding and if you have had like hormonal changes, whether through pregnancy or stress or whatever, everybody's hair is affected by all those things. I would recommend giving it a try. It's physician formulated, 100% drug-free ingredients. And this is all like science, not hocus pocus.
Yeah.
Whether you're gifting to yourself or a loved one, give the gift of great hair growth this holiday season. Right now, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off any order. Enjoy free shipping when you subscribe. So go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code BRAINCANDYGIFT. Nutrafol.com, spelled NUTRAFOL.com, promo code BRAINCANDYGIFT. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code BRAINCANDYGIFT. And I know how like difficult and embarrassing it can be when you feel like your hair doesn't look nice. So I am right there with you.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, we love Nutrafol.
Yes. Well, I know one thing I want to talk with you about. Did you see the documentary Sweet Bobby, My Catfish Nightmare?
Yes.
On Netflix.
Yes, it was totally fascinating. I know the story's been around for a long time, but I was not familiar.
Yes.
With it.
I can't believe that we never talked about this on here. And maybe it's because when I heard the podcast, because I listened to the podcast, I can remember I listened to it.
Like in the pandemic time, right?
Yeah.
Is that when it was? Yeah.
I think it came out during pandemic time, and I listened to it on my drive from California to Denver when I had that like, it's like a, I don't know, 16-hour drive or something crazy like that. And I listened to it on that drive, and I remember like being like, what in the world am I listening to?
Yeah.
Because so just to give a little background, this is a woman who met a man online, and she is Indian.
Mm-hmm.
And
maybe something in that region. Yes, she's Indian. Yeah.
She's Indian. And
but living in England.
Living in England.
Yeah.
And she meets a man online.
Mm-hmm.
And
on Facebook. It was a Facebook thing. Yeah. But it wasn't some stranger. Like she knew people in his family. They had like shared mutual friends or whatever.
Her cousin dated this guy's brother. So Sweet Bobby's brother and this woman's cousin had gone on a date a long time ago, didn't work out, whatever. And so they had like mutual friends and connections. She starts talking with them. They hit it off, and they develop an online relationship. And just like all catfish stories, things start getting really weird really fast.
Yeah. The first sort of big shift, I mean, she was like into it, it's flirty, whatever, but she was like still, living her life. Yeah. But then he said that he was going into witness protection.
Yeah.
That was the
Did
first
they explain
thing.
Why?
Yeah, there's a whole friggin' story.
Of course,
but
there always
who the hell
is.
cares? Because I
forgot about the witness protection part. I thought it was the hospital first, but
no, he went into witness protection, and so like he was going to have to like hit the road and not be able to talk very much, but then he still talked to her, and he said like they allowed him an exception, but he like couldn't meet her.
Could you imagine?
I love it.
Like,
so stupid.
There were a lot of things that kept happening like that, where it's like, I can't meet you because I've had an accident. There was something with his voice, like because
then he had this
cancer,
illness. He had
some
an illness
that was affected his voice.
Yeah, so he could talk, but it sounded weird, and mostly they were like just texting
and never on video.
No,
it's like people want to believe the lie so much that they will absolutely convince themselves that this is the truth.
That's for sure. Because guess what? This went on 10 years.
And she
was madly in love.
Yes.
This was her soulmate. This not real person.
Not real person. And the controlling behavior started where she was making her call him on the phone and check in at different times. Of course, you see her like losing her job and like anxiety going up. It's just
they would like be on Skype just to sleep. Like she would go to sleep with Skype on and like have it on all night. I'm sorry. You know, the impulse to like victim blame where you're just like, how could you be so stupid? I got to tell you, I do lose a little bit of compassion after say year one.
Right. And with the amount of evidence that was right in front of her or the lack of confirmation of who this person was, because then,
she's a beautiful woman, by the way.
Yes.
Like she could find someone in real life.
Do you think that this has a little bit to do with the idea of how old somebody should be when they get married in Indian culture, and how she felt
that's
like
what she claimed? But how is dating somebody you've never met
somebody
better?
Fake? But if that person has a resume that appears on the up and up and
at what
desirable.
Year would you lose compassion? 50?
Lose compassion?
Yeah, where you're just like, okay, lady. At a certain point, you have agency and you're not using it.
I do understand how the mind gets to that point.
Okay, so how many years?
Well, I think forever years, and that's why I'm a therapist. Like
forever
I think
years, you'd say, yeah, I get it.
I would have compassion. I would be able. I think of what it would be like to work with them as my clients, and if I would absolutely.
Okay, well,
always
maybe
have
we should rephrase the question.
Yeah.
You can maintain compassion, but at what point would you be like, okay, this is there is some big responsibility here.
Year one, before that.
Yes.
Okay. Way earlier.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. It's kind of like, I mean, it feels like it feels similar to a cult. Like it feels like the same sort of mental, like, and remember when we were telling that, I was talking a couple weeks ago about the seniors who were being financially like extorted, and how that man sued his own son, and how when you look at what happens, it does look and play out like what happens to people when they are like sucked into cults and they get their mind just isn't their own anymore.
Yeah,
and so
I mean,
that's the
true.
fragility of the human mind, I just, I understand. And it's so sad that like makes sense that we've just taken advantage of people. We've moved taking advantage of people to online.
Yeah, and it's sort of
And
easier, I guess.
yeah,
to-
and that has happened since forever. And so I think there will always be people who are vulnerable, and I will always like feel so sad for them. But like at a certain point, that person has to want to change, but it becomes
I'm just
really
saying,
hard to see the light when you're in it, you know?
I'm just saying, like, all things can be true. Like, this woman was a victim.
Yeah.
The spoiler alert, the person that was doing it was
Yeah.
her freaking female cousin.
Right.
All 10 years was pretending to
And
be
they
a
were
man.
sexting.
Yeah. It was so gross.
They were, and she felt very ashamed and embarrassed to admit that the sexting part, and it feels like
She didn't admit it in the documentary. She said it was too personal to talk about, like, intimate stuff.
Yeah.
But that person that lied and tricked her and lived that way for 10 years, that's sick and is a horrible person. And then to me, there's also an element of like personal responsibility.
Yeah.
Like, there is an element of idiocy that happened. And that's a fact.
She's totally choosing to ignore the information right in front of her.
And I have done idiotic things myself. Like we all have. I'm just saying, like, can we not pretend like it is just like, it could happen to anybody? No, 10 years, it could. That's not true. Some people would have stopped.
No, I don't think it could happen to anybody at any given time. But I think it could happen to the right person in a vulnerable moment who is
really wants to believe
something.
Yeah. I agree.
That, and I have never wanted to believe something that bad, to be able to get
Especially
sucked
not
into,
in a man.
you know, like, no, my spidey senses for shit like this are like, I'm the one who I told my mom she was being catfished.
Yeah, I remember.
I
Well,
was
I
like,
think that's often true when, it's somebody else. Like if somebody else tells you something, not just you, but anyone.
right.
We're more inclined to be like, that doesn't sound right. But when it's you, it's like you want to believe. And that's a problem.
Yeah. My mom
that's why we
wanted
need accountability.
and like this guy said, he preyed on her. Like he found all the right things, looked in all of her history and said, like she went to the airport to pick him up and he wasn't there.
Oh no.
And then said, I'm being held in customs because I need this amount of money to get out to pay these taxes before they give me my visa back or whatever. Damn near $10,000 she about to send him.
Oh my God.
Thank God that didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
So
I wonder how close it was.
My mom, and oh God, and I think like she's kind of a skeptical, doesn't trust everybody person either, and except when it came to like,
if somebody studies up on your
right,
vulnerabilities, then they have a much higher rate of success, I'm sure.
Right. Right.
They can tap into your neuroses and stuff.
Just like, here's what I learned. If somebody doesn't want to be on video with you, there's a reason.
Yeah.
Give me an arm. I don't care. If you like, you say, oh, I don't look good today. Great. Let's see you from the neck down.
Yeah.
Because what's up?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That was
I don't think she's found anyone. Like, I don't know for sure, but like, I don't think that was the end of the documentary. It wasn't like, and now she's married with.
I don't think so. I think
she's not.
It would be very hard for me to trust anybody and myself. It would be very hard for me to like think I wasn't going to make a terrible mistake again.
I thought like her parents who were in the documentary and their interview was like both of them sitting together. And I just was like, oh, they are so disappointed in her.
Yeah.
Like, they're just like, what the fuck is wrong with our daughter?
They did try to be like, we support her, but we don't think they did not believe her and did not believe the situation, and they should have been more like, this is not real. I don't think that her family was as like gave her enough pushback.
Part of the problem too is that there aren't a lot of things that catfisher did illegally. Like, I don't think they took money. There was no like crime.
Right.
I think there was like the identity theft part.
Yes.
Because there was a man in the world with that name, and like she used like his pictures and stuff. So like, I think the crime was him.
But I think the only way that they could get her on that was if the man whose identity was taken,
right? The woman
charges.
who was tricked, she's like shit out of luck. She just lost 10 years of her life.
10 fucking
your fertile years, right?
I'm mad at one guy that I dated for 2 years because I felt like my fertile years were stolen from me. Mm-hmm. I couldn't imagine 10 years of
just talking on the phone.
No.
With your cousin accidentally.
And sexting.
Ew.
There was so much shame. She was like, she looked really embarrassed about that part.
I feel like sexting is almost always a mistake, even if you know who you're talking to.
Actually, I will agree.
Right? Like, it's weird.
I mean,
and I get it, but
maybe if you're like, if you've been married for a while and you want to use that as a tool to kind of keep the relationship,
sure,
but like, don't sext me if we just met.
Right?
Like,
no, thank you.
I do not know you like that. But I'm prude via text, as we learned with the app AI that scanned my text with my ex and my text with Susie. And Susie's...
We were hot and heavy.
We were hotter than me and my ex.
See, I think that's right. I think
that actually shows that I probably should date women. If I put any text message with... Yeah, I have more chemistry with women. That's got to be it. Oh,
all right,
man.
Let's wind it down. Sarah's just still processing her real world experience.
What is wrong with me? Someday I'll be able to maybe not cry about that. I don't know. I don't know what happens to me. I got to talk to Sherry about it and work some shit out with that. What else did I talk about?
Mysterious.
Wet dog shake. I want to know are these receptors in any way connected to tickling or itching?
Mm-hmm. And the monkeys have escaped. The
monkeys have escaped. We're probably going to be in, what's that movie with the Planet of the Apes?
Oh, Planet of the Apes.
They'll take over. But don't worry, not diseased. Wink, wink.
Right. And dyspraxia soundboard now is personalized. How cool is that?
And also, Kodak is racist.
Or at least they were.
They've done better. Yes.
And please, for God's sake, don't be catfished.
Oh, right.
What are you doing?
See somebody on video.
Yeah. IRL is best.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Absolutely.
All right, friends. Thanks for listening. Please use our codes. They're on thebraincandypodcast.com if you forget them. Check out our patreon.com/braincandy for any challenge content your heart desires. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.